Were you ever that 1 in 1 million? If so, what's your story? I am a 19-year-old male. In August of last year, I was driving with my sister, when suddenly her face turned cold. "Gavin, your eyes are yellow," I remember her saying. I quickly pulled down the passenger's mirror, and to my horror, the yellow eyes radiated back at me. Fast forward, I spent a month being sick. The initial diagnosis was hepatitis A. Went back to the doctor. Nothing was better. Things were worse, in fact. Was sent to the ER, then to the liver transplant unit at UCSF. By this point, my eyes had turned muddy orange, and my pee was the color of a mahogany tree. Anyways, the team of liver doctors at UCSF managed to save my liver. I was diagnosed with autoimmune hepatitis. Oh, and my eyes are white again. For my 7th birthday, we went to Disneyland. They just happened to be having a car day giveaway when we were there. For my 7th birthday, Mickey Mouse gave me a Pontiac Firebird. Do you still have the car? Nah. Since I was only 7 at the time, the car went to my mom. By the time I was old enough to drive, it was scrap. I am allergic to potatoes. Never met someone else who is, so I guess it's 1 in a million. Never eaten chips or fries. I was diagnosed with leukemia. I got a bacteria growth which killed the leukemia, a real 1 in 1 million chance. How I met my wife. I am from the Netherlands. She is from the US. We met in Israel. It was my first weekend in Israel. Decided to go on a pub crawl to meet some people and have fun. As I am buying the ticket, my now wife walks up to the counter to also buy a ticket. The girl working there introduces us. We hit it off the first night, but I am leaving in 2 days to stay with friends of friends in the middle of the desert for 3 months. 2 days after I leave, I lose my phone. Don't have any way to get back in touch with her. I had little money and could stay work with the people in the desert. But I kept thinking about her, so after a week I say I am leaving. Take the next bus, goes 3 times a week. At 5 a.m. and then a train to Tel Aviv. I had no idea how to find her, where to stay, and very little money. I email a couple hostels to find a work-stay agreement. Those jobs are very popular and usually planned months in advance. I get an email back when I arrive in Tel Aviv. I can come in for an interview because they have a spot. This is already ridiculously lucky. Right after the interview and dropping of my belongings, I went back to the first hostel to see if they would give me information. They would not give me anything. Now I am at a loss. Tel Aviv is a city of more than 500,000 people. I don't know anyone and have little more than the clothes on my back. Kinda defeated, I start wandering around exploring the city. After a couple hours, I get hungry and decide to treat myself to a restaurant. I am well out of the tourist area and find a place that's almost empty and rather cheap. I sit down, order a drink and something to eat. As I get my food, I see my now wife walking past the restaurant. She sees me, I see her. I am literally dumbstruck and just kind of grin and wave. Remember how I lost my phone. She didn't know that and just thought I ignored her. She waves and keeps walking. I throw like 200 shekels, way too much, in the table and sprint after her. Explained, and the rest is history. No sure about the odds on this one, but I survived a non-survivable plane crush. I was on an old Poda famous for being very safe and uncrushable, on a tour of the desert in western China when I was like 7. My father's friend who hosted me and piloted the plane didn't survive, but somehow I got out with a concussion and apparently passed out for almost a day in the middle of the desert. In the wreckage of the crash, 50 kilometers from the town airport, on the edge of the desert. The people who found me were some tree planters. They plant greens in the desert to protect towns from sandstorm. A lot of people live in these desert towns in China do this. Found me on their way picking up a shipment, and the only reason they looked was BC. They were making a bet on how fast the egg would cook in the sand and went off the road to test. I slept wrong one night and pinched a nerve in my neck so severely I lost the right side of my body. It just went silent like it was not there for months. I woke up in the worst pain I have ever experienced and could not talk, move, or do anything. The ER doctor thought I was having a stroke. My doctor had never seen a case as severe as mine, and it was purely a freak accident. Recovery took months, but I have use of my leg and hand again, with some numbness. Other than pain and spasms, I am mostly back to normal. I passed out from laughing too hard once. It was truly a 1 in a million thing. When I was a teenager, I had just started working at the local Sears Auto Center Express Lube shop, and on day 1 did a quick orientation and my first oil change. The manager walked away when he felt I was good to go and the oil change went well. Fast forward a few days later, my manager asked me to come into his office and he explained that the oil filter I had used had one huge flaw. I didn't know what that was, and it turned out the filter was pressed on backwards into the filter can, and it would not allow oil to flow, and then it damaged the motor. They had to purchase a new motor for the person, and I still kept my job. He said it was a 1 in a million chance that would have happened, and it did on my first oil change. I have the rarest type of synesthesia, lexical gustatory. It means I taste words. I was struck by lightning while talking on a landline. This was in the early 90s. Lightning struck the telephone line and traveled through the handset to my ear. My parents drove me to the ER. I could not talk very well. My brain knew what I wanted to say, but my mouth didn't want to say it. I had a terrible stutter. My doctor told me that I had had a dose of good, old-fashioned electroshock therapy. My speech was normal the next day, but I get a terrible headache whenever a thunderstorm comes through. I have an unknown type of autosomal dominant centronuclear myopathy. My type of it is so rare that they have not even seen it before. Getting diagnosed was a multi-year struggle. They pretty much had to rule out everything else. It does not feel great to be in this club by myself. Countless blood draws, MRIs, CAT scans, and a biopsy and genetic test. So far, it looks like my father and I are the only ones with it. Yay! I am allergic to the cold. Like literally. I get intense hives, swelling, I pass out, and throw up. Does not even have to be freezing. Below 45 degrees without a jacket, and I can't do it. I have to carry an EpiPen with me in the event that I drink something too cold or have a severe reaction. Not quite 1 in a million, but close enough. As a child, I had an extremely rare autoimmune disease. On top of having an extremely rare illness, I developed the rare and most dangerous of the symptoms. My kidneys started shutting down. Most kids recover from this disease, but not always the ones with kidney issues. I was extremely lucky. I did not have to go on dialysis, and my kidneys eventually reached normal functioning levels. It took a decade to be completely cleared of the disease. My mother likes to call me a miracle child, not only because of this, but because she was not supposed to be able to have a kid due to health issues, and had several miscarriages before my stubborn ass decided to be born. Weird shit. I have symmetric bilateral coloboma of the iris and retina. Essentially, my pupils are shaped like keyholes instead of circles. A single coloboma is pretty rare. Double coloboma is even more rare. And double symmetrical, well, you get it. I was born 1 Libra and 6 ounces in 1998. Doctors said I had like a 15% of surviving or something like that. They also said that if I did survive, I would have been a vegetable. So months passed. Funny thing was, I came out of the hospital on the day I was due, came out in February, left the hospital in June. While I am still forming as a baby, and it's 20 years later, and I am alive and healthy. I can walk, talk, and all the normal things. Only thing really wrong with me is my right eye is hanging on a thread because of reasons, and I am socially autistic. I guess that's 1 in 1 million. I was actually homeless for 4 years between 19 and 23 years old. As silly as it sounds, I used to earn some extra money at the time by helping around in a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. It was my biggest hobby when I was younger and was something I felt confident about. I also didn't have a passport or a bank account, so I could not get a normal job UK. Anyway, so at the time I was stuck not earning enough money, without a passport, a bank account, or a real job. In the UK, you won't get hired by 99% of companies if you don't have a passport to prove you have the right to work. So one day I got a phone call from a studio asking if I played Yu-Gi-Oh! And would consider myself a geek. Also, if I wanted to be in a TV show. They said they would send me to another country as part of it. Being homeless, the biggest problems is being bored, so naturally I said yes. But told them I don't have a passport. No problem. We will get you one straight away and pay for it ourselves. I ended up on a show called Geeks that you can still watch on Channel 4OD. Because I got this passport, I was finally able to get a job, a bank account, and finally a house. Now I am looking after my 10-month-old daughter who's playing while I type this. So Yu-Gi-Oh saved me from being homeless. I might be an anime characters. I was kidnapped when leaving work and held for 18 months, along with 2 other girls. The guy who took us claimed himself to be an ineffable lower god, and used cult tactics, manipulation, and control to have us be his family. I was allowed to leave to the grocery store as an errand, but knew if I did not come back the others would receive my punishment. I finally got away by stabbing my captor when I believed he was going to kill me. My ex was struck by lightning several times and lived. Died in a car accident though, so not as lucky as he claimed to be. Thanks for watching. Share your opinion in the comment, like and subscribe. It helps a lot.